All right, good morning, everyone. We're ready to begin. Thank you. We're ready to begin the press conference for an update on the Black Forest fire. The good news is it's worth smiling about. Again, another day of no growth in the fire, no lost structures, and we have begun an aggressive repopulation of some of those mandatory evacuated areas. Last night we opened up an area known as the inner part of the horseshoe in there. Opened up areas that we kept a safe distance from what the firefighters are telling us still have some hot spots, but we got people home. At 10 o'clock today, we opened up an area up to the north of what we call the east, or what I call the East Rabbit Ears, to bring those lines down tighter to give people access to their homes, which again is a benefit for us because we can shrink in our checkpoints, or at least our road closures, as well as concentrate those patrols. And I was out again last night, a lot of law enforcement activity. Matter of fact, we had talk last night over the radio, somebody wandering in on an ATV. There must have been 10 law enforcement officers on it. There was red and blue lights everywhere. It's a great scene, and I like to say it's kind of historic. I don't know that I'll ever see or pass 3 or 4 law enforcement cars on one road every day I drive up there. So that's kind of a nice change. We're opening or planning to open another little section later this evening, and you're probably wondering, why are these odd times? We're kind of pressing the Type 1 team, the firefighters, to give us a deadline of when they think they can comfortably have that area rendered safe, check off their lists, and then we can get people in. So at 8 p.m. tonight, we're expecting to open just a couple roads off of Shoup, and it'll be the Bridle Bit area. Tahosa will not open. It was pretty heavily affected by the fire. There's still some hot spots. So although I'm using Tahosa as a reference point, it is not that road that'll open. It is west of that. And after 8 p.m., those residents that are in that area and access their homes off Shoup will be allowed entry with proof of identification. As I said, we have not lost any more homes. We have some inaccuracies that are cropping up. We're making adjustment as those come. We estimate our accuracy to be around 1 to 2%. We're doing everything we can to keep it updated, and as soon as we get a confirmation on a change, we're making that adjustment. And I want to remind people that although you've done a fabulous job of washing your cars, and that has brought us some much needed moisture. It was great last night. We had a high humidity rate, which really creates opportunities for those firefighters out there. We're still dealing with fires in other part of the county. Last night, or yesterday, late afternoon, early evening, we responded to a flare-up over on Mount Herman Road. We got control of it very quickly, but it's just another example of the season we're in and the fact that there's still a lot going on out there. I want to touch on the remaining properties that people have not been afforded access. We're looking at sometime tomorrow. I'll be meeting with Chief Harvey, Chief Levy of the Falcon Fire District, our Type 1 incident manager, to discuss opening up another area west of Meridian up to the fire line. It's what we've kind of designated as in a fire area as the blue region, and it's that large area off to the right. I don't want to speak too prematurely, but I'm pretty confident with the efforts that we saw last night, the success we saw, we're going to be able to get those people in as well. The area of greatest concern and probably the most density will remain closed, and that's that corridor kind of using Shoup as the southern border. To the north, I would say an imaginary line north of Swan Road, where we had the most concentrated devastation. We're getting a lot of people that are getting antsy to get back in there. I'm antsy to let you get in there, but I need to paint a picture for you. We have a law enforcement concern in there from a preservation of the scene and access. And when you're talking about a potential for prosecution, we don't know yet whether it's a crime or not, but we're going to treat it as it is and preserve every element of that scene as we can. To allow people to go in and trample through and walk around compromises our scene. There's the number one issue. The number two issue is, and probably the most important, is that you have multi-layers of government operating in this region. We have the local sheriff's office, the fire district. We have state involved, we have the National Guard involved, and we have the Type 1 management team. And I don't want to do anything that compromises the relationship and the agreements we have in place. I need their resources, and we as a community need their resources. So when we get our checklist completed and we're all in agreement on what we've already agreed to be those conditions, we're going to make it a priority to get those of you in that corridor I just mentioned home. And a lot of you, it's not going home, you're going to rubble. And we want to make sure we have the resources you need there. We want your fire district to play an active role, law enforcement, and any other support you need. I have an agreement with our Type 1 management team and the operations folks that typically they want a triple hash. That's where they're walking the grid, and I watched them do it last night. Another team comes in and walks another grid, and another team walks another grid. Then they render it safe. Upon agreement and with their discretion and flexibility and adaptability, which I like that word, they have agreed after a single hash, a single grid walk, they're going to open up incremental parts of that corridor I mentioned. I'll call it the Shoup Road corridor. When they do that, we're going to make public announcements as well as geocasts to let you folks know you can meet at a staging area, and you and only you can go in and spend time on your property. We're going to be as flexible as we can. If you want to go in, see it, and leave, we're going to let you have that flexibility. And that is to customize the time you want, the grieving process, and really some of the realities of it. If you want to stay for a couple hours and you want to walk around and dig around, we're going to have people there to help you. We're coordinating it, we're planning it. We have set times and dates, being optimistic and very aggressive, to implement that plan and start rolling it out. But I've put a lot of, pressure on my good friend Rich Harvey, and I've asked him to not only get those areas hashed so I can get our citizens in, but also focus resources on those hotspots so that we can repopulate those areas that we've kept closed for some time. So I know I'm pushing him, and his firefighters are doing a fantastic job. They were working through the night, walking those grids, working in the rain, and just doing a great job. So I lay that out as a plan I am shooting for, and I hate to do this because, boy, as soon as I say we're going to shoot for this day, something bad's going to happen. I'm going to go out on a limb. Don't push me off that limb, please. But I'm really shooting for sometime tomorrow, Wednesday at the latest, to at least start getting people in there. And those that work with me know I can be pretty aggressive and push pretty hard. And that's what we're shooting for. So we have a plan. We're not ignoring you, and we're with you. Again, I think it's tremendous progress, visual progress. Every time you see people going back home, that's progress. And that shows that what we told you we're sticking to. It's a priority to get all of you back to your homes, whether you have a home to come to or not. We did have a little bit of a scare last night. I think around 11 o'clock we got a report of a missing person. Each time I get one of those, my heart kind of sinks and I kind of go into a slight panic. But the good news is we located that person, so we are still at 0 missing persons. The loss of life is still contained to 2. The property damage or loss has stabilized. The firefighters, they delivered some good blows with the help of Mother Nature and the help of all the citizens washing their cars and parking them on the streets. So thank you very much. And I think it's another day to build on. You don't see smoke up there. You're not seeing black smoke. You're not seeing flames. It gives this false sense that it's over and done. And although we're closing out the chapter of the hot, aggressive fire, we're starting a whole new chapter of recovery. And that is a long, tedious process. So it's going to take us all pulling together and working together. Again, let me just reemphasize, we opened some areas up to the north from Walker Road down to, I think it's Hardy. And then we're going to open up Bridal Bit, 8 p.m. this evening. And then we're looking optimistically, if the firefighters get a real good hand today and stomp out some areas on the right side west of Meridian, we're hoping to open that whole corridor. And at the same time as all that, we are making plans hourly to get all of you guys that are in that highly affected area, the Shoup Road corridor, north of Swan. We're working to get you in there. And these aren't just words, these are facts. So what I'd like to do now is turn it over to Rich Harvey. He can talk a little bit about the fire activity and what his folks are doing. There he is.
Thanks. Make sure I understand the map I'm looking at here. Good afternoon, Rich Harvey, Incident Commander for the Black Forest Fire. And I'd like to, I had the visual of Terry standing out on the limb and not wanting to get pushed off the limb, giving us all kinds of work to do, but I was tempted to cut down the tree. The firefighters have been working really hard out there. We had a good night last night. We did pick up a couple scares, and they did not come from inside the fire. They came from the lightning storms itself. We picked up 3 starts from lightning last night within the fire perimeter that the guys had to go deal with. And one of those scared the heck out of us because it was called in as a potential structure fire. So we got woke up, which is a good thing for firefighters. Get them woke up. They got out there, kept working forward on progress, picking up the hot spots, mopping up the smokes. So we're starting to feel pretty good about where we're at. Good enough, in fact, that I'm going to raise the containment percentage on the fire to 75%. So once again, we continue to work forward in a positive manner. But the 75% really deals with the perimeter, and I'll show you exactly where we're starting to feel good all the way around, both sides. This, I don't know what you call it, this thing up here is still East Rabbit Ears, according to Terry. This is the area from about down in here up to here and around. And we've got perimeter containment in, but we need to reinforce it. So we're still working on making sure that that is really tough. The other mission that we have, thank you very much, is to go back through and make sure that everything in there is safe. What is safe? It will not be the way it was when you left, but we will work diligently in our 3 separate passes through there to make sure that there are no smokes, no hot spots, and all hazard trees, i.e. those creaky, crawly things that pose a threat to life and property, road access, that kind of stuff are on the ground. We are not treating every single tree out there. We are only treating the trees that pose a direct hazard either to the firefighters or the roads and the access. Black forest, there's a lot of trees in there. A lot of those trees have been burned, and we need to make sure they're on the ground. So the crews do have a lot of work. It's not all firework in terms of flames and stuff, but it is work to help get it to the point where we can tell the sheriff that it is safe to take certain actions. And safe for repopulation, actually staying in there 24/7, is a different safe in our mind than safe to go visit. So we are working diligently to get it to that standard. As you go back in, you will see hanging from mailboxes where we got them, or trees or something in there, flagging. What's that mean? One flagging from the mailbox means we have been through there one time for our grid search, because we sometimes get lost, okay? So we have to remind ourselves where we were. One flag. And on that flagging will be 2 things: the name of the crew that went through there and the date that they went through there, so that we could start to make sure that we're communicating clearly where we are on that search and destroy, make safe, mop up mission. Trying to make sure that we're communicating that clearly. You will start to see some changes in our operation just incrementally. Some of the equipment that is surplus to our needs, like bulldozers and water tenders and some of those things, will start to be released. The tentative demob list for today has about 12 pieces of equipment on it. The night shift will get a little bit smaller. Part of that is a result of the humidity recovery we've been getting. The RH recovery last night was up to 80-85%. Fire activity stops once it gets above 35%. So there's just nothing for them to do. They can't find anything. It's dark. You don't want them falling trees in the dark. Well, I don't like them walking through trees that might fall in the dark. So we're trying to make sure that we minimize the exposure to the firefighters and still be productive in case there is something they need to do. So we're trying to be fiscally astute, safety conscious, and productive all at the same time. So it's a bit of a grind. It's hard to get all those things done at the same time. Speaking of fiscally, the cost to date of this fire from our operations, $5.5 million. So that's a lot of money. So I'm also getting pressure not only to get work done, but to do it in a cost-effective manner. So we're trying to balance all those needs, and I think the number one priority for us is to get you home safe and sound. So that's what we're working on today. The only other thing I'll share with you before I get out of here, support. I have never seen firefighters grinning so much from ear to ear as they come driving into a fire camp with soot and everything all over them than they are when they drive through the public that's out there supporting them. I mean, it's really hard for our guys. Some of them want to go up and say hi, and they say, I can't. I'll start to cry. And so they stay in there and have dinner, and I have to go up and shake hands with the folks that are out there because we really do appreciate the support, you guys. And that's what makes the grind that we got going on out there. Mop-up is not fun. Most firefighters, we like to challenge our expertise against the flames. And when it gets down to the grind, it's hard to stay motivated. Seeing those people out there and feeling the support that's coming from the community for the firefighters and law enforcement really makes us ready to go handle that grind for you. Thank you.
This is what I'll ask is Commissioner Glenn to come up and speak to the recovery efforts.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for being so patient. I am, again, so proud of everybody coming together. As far as following directions, we have seen a lot of people go to our disaster assistance centers. We have already hit and have served 1,000 families. So we really appreciate that because we want to be a community that takes care of everybody. Aspen Point is there for you. There are a lot of people that have a way of handling this, but there might be some people that are struggling and they might need some counseling. Aspen Point is available, and they have mental health counselors from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and you can contact them at 572-6100. Now I want to talk to you real briefly about my number one priority, and I really need the help from the media with regard to this. My number one priority is putting together our communications network. Yesterday, I talked about the importance of our communications network by asking your HOA representatives, if you live in an area and you have a HOA, that individual, I'm asking that they contact me via email so that I can have their contact information. If you're living in an area and you do not have an active HOA, we're asking that your neighborhood representative give me that same contact information. If you do not have a neighborhood representatives, you need to have a rock, paper, scissors contest and designate a representative. And the reason why this is important, we are quickly transitioning into the recovery phase. We will not have daily press conferences like now. Right now I have the ability to talk to my constituents. It is going to become increasingly more difficult if I don't have that communications network in place. We want to be able to rapidly give you information about our recovery efforts, how you can participate. We also want to be able to find out what's going on in your neighborhoods. You are going to be our boots on the ground. So our infrastructure needs to be in place prior to actively getting into our recovery phase. I have received a lot of emails, but I've also received some phone calls. From a prioritization standpoint, please send me this message via email. That's a lot faster. You got to think about, I have 50 phone calls in the queue, probably containing that information. I'm going to go through my emails first. If you think about a phone message that's about an average of 3 minutes at length, how long that's going to take. So please, if you've sent that email or that information via phone, please send it to me via email. And again, that's Daryl Glenn at elpasoco.com. Our goal is today to be able to send out a press release that will have a listing of the contact that we have received as of last night. I'd ask you to quickly look at that list. If your HOA or if your neighborhood is not represented on that list, please send me that contact information. Again, I want to thank everybody for being patient, and we will get through this, and we will rebuild.
Okay, thank you, Daryl. We get a lot of questions about coming into the Joint Information Center about mail delivery and mail service. So our postal expert is here to discuss that.
Good afternoon. Saturday, a question was asked about extending the hours to pick up your mail. And until further notice, we're going to extend the morning hours from 7 a.m. until 5:30 in the afternoon. So if you're one of the people that need to pick up your mail there, you'll be able to do it at the Briargate Post Office, 8585 Criterion Drive, from 7 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. until further notice, Monday through Friday. Saturdays, we're going to try to get that earlier than 9 o'clock, but right now, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Some other good news, we went from 5,290 no deliveries Saturday to approximately 1,800 no deliveries today. So hats off to the firefighters and all the folks that are involved there. If you have a P.O. box at the Black Forest contract station at the Black Forest Market, they are open for business today. They have your mail. You can get it there. All of the deliveries in Monument, Peyton, Elbert, Glen Eagle, all those areas are getting 100% of their mail today, plus accumulated mail. So if you don't feel like you need to go down to the post office, you'll get mail if you're in those areas. Black Forest, you're still limited, and we're getting mail out best that we can today. If you're in a pre-evac area, you will get all of your mail, including the accumulated mail. And again, I want to remind folks that if you have a structure that's permanently damaged and you have a temporary or permanent address, you can acquire about a change of address at any local post office. Go to usps.com, do it online, just click change of address. Or you can go to any post office nearby you and inquire about a P.O. box in the meantime. With that being said, again, be patient and courteous, and we'll get our mail to you best that we can. Thank you.
I want to give an update, which is really no update, to the investigation into the cause of the fire. We are zeroing in on the point of origin, and that, it's a very slow, methodical process. But as I said yesterday, we have brought in additional experts to make sure we're not missing anything, to make sure it's as thorough as possible. But I'm pleased with the progress that they are making. But nothing significant to report, but they're in there every day. And actually, sorry about that. I forgot to tell them don't come by. But actually, we're waiting on some equipment to come in that's going to aid and further that investigation, but we're just not at a point to determine what it is. And while I'm on that very subject, I got a report this morning that we have had no new cases of any kind of looting or burglaries. So I think those extra patrols and those folks patrolling in the checkpoints are doing a fantastic job. And I have the last few days, I pretty much have spoken on behalf of Dan May, our 4th Judicial District Attorney, but I've asked him to come up and he can speak for himself now on the angle of prosecution once we find those that are responsible for taking advantage of the victims of this fire. Dan, if you don't mind making a couple comments.
It's with a heavy heart, but with the same resolve as I had last year, that I come to speak to you today about what we may do in the cases of any isolated looting. And isolated is true. It is not that we are seeing mass things of looting going on in this scene. I do want to speak first to those who are still evacuees and to those returning to their homes. I want to assure you that our first responders have been doing an amazing job protecting your homes, not only from the fires, but also from potential looters. I was up there within the first 24 hours of this fire. I've been up there within the last 24 hours. They have checkpoints throughout. They have people roving the area. I got contacted over and over as I was in the area. They really are doing a yeoman's job at protecting those homes. They brought in the National Guard. They're to be thanked. The Colorado Springs Police Department you brought in, the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, even the fire crews. It's always interesting when you get stopped by a fire truck as you're roving the area, but they really are out to protect those homes. We've all seen, I take great pride in living here, and many of us do that are here today, when you see how our community has reached out to those in need. They've opened their hearts, they've opened their homes, they've shown great compassion. We know, though, that there are a very small, isolated group that may put their greed ahead of the loss of our friends and neighbors in this community. And I want to speak at this point to anybody planning on looting any of these homes or properties up in this area. It bears repeating some of the things that I said last year. I want you to know that we will show the same compassion to you as you are showing to our neighbors who are in need right now. In your plans, you better have planned to have your bags packed. You better have planned to set your affairs in order, because we do intend to evacuate you for many, many years. And you can take mine and Terry Makita's word for it. We will not tolerate any isolated incidents of looting. We will prosecute you to the maximum extent of the law. For those returning to your homes, you may find damage to your homes. It isn't always people breaking in. Your first responders were doing an amazing job, and sometimes they needed to enter your homes. The sheriff's office asked me if you see damage, if your door is broken into or a window. It could have been a first responder. They've given me a number to give you. Please call 390-5555. Again, 390-5555. They will respond to that very quickly to determine whether it was a first responder or whether it's actually an incident of looting. Depending on what's going on, it may affect how quickly, but believe me, they're putting a high priority on that. They're not seeing a lot up there. I think they've come very prepared this time, and I think a message has been sent in the past. But if you see it, those are the numbers to call. I'd also note the sheriff has declared a stage 1 fire restriction. That means, and he has said he is going to take zero tolerance on people who are doing open fires, people who are doing fireworks, people who are throwing just those cigarette butts out their windows. We need to know in this community, even though we've seen some rain, this is still a high fire danger. We are still in a drought conditions. And as the sheriff's people will take it as zero tolerance, believe me, the Colorado Springs Police Department and other agencies will, so will my office, and so will the courts. So please, please be careful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I would say maybe if he wasn't looking so suspicious, we wouldn't have stopped him 14 times or whatever it was. But no, actually, I'm driving through with lights on, and law enforcement is coming up and verifying that I'm who I say I am. So it's really good. It's quite a sight. A lot of hard work in there, and Dan mentioned a couple of the law enforcement agencies. We have State Patrol in there. We have the Sheriff's Office, of course. Colorado Springs, I can't thank them enough for both their fire department and the police department. I mean, all I have to do is call Pete Carey, tell him I need 6 cars, and there's no questions are there. I also have tremendous support from UCCS Police. They're in the area patrolling, so they've modified their schedules to get us resources. Fountain Police Department's in there, and we even had folks come all the way over from the Western Slope for the first several days to supplant our resources from Montrose. So Montrose community, thank you very much. You were a part of all this and played a role in it. Just a couple of housekeeping things. We still have 4,100 folks in the mandatory evacuation area. We have 16,200 plus in the pre-evacuation area. And just for clarification, the area that we opened up north today over the eastern rabbit ears, that's my name. It's kind of cool. I get to name a part of it. But Winchester, now we're getting real precise with letting people in, and we're putting them in close, but it's because of the assessment from the fire folks and brakes and fuels and all that. But Winchester is your east-west divider, and the center of the road is the east-west divider. So if you live on the west side of Winchester, you can go home. If you're on the east side, the time isn't right yet. On Hardy Road to the north, if you live on the north side of the road, you can go home. If you're south of that, give us a little more time, and we're working to get you in there. And again, on the Shoup corridor, we are working on a plan to get you in to visit. And we're going to take risk in doing that. We've got flexibility within the Type 1 management team, the firefighters as operational chiefs, to get you in there after the first grid search. That'll be limited access. Then, at that time, when we process you in to go into your neighborhoods, we're going to give you the credentialing you need, so when it is opened up, it'll still be restricted to the general public, but then you will have the credentials to go back in and out as you desire. That is going to be a little time out, okay? Just be patient. I promise you we're working this very aggressively, and our goal has remained the same: get you in there to see your property. All right, well, thank you, and as always, We'll have folks around here. Oh, there's one more thing I want to talk about. It was brought to my attention after Rich Harvey made the comment about emotions. It's a pretty heartfelt and very touching thing when individuals do get to go in and see their homes, whether their homes are standing or not. My deputies tell me, and in law enforcement, you don't expect a lot of hugs, but they said they have been hugged by more people with tears than they've probably contacted in their career. And it takes a toll on everyone. And seeing people go into their home is emotional for us. And seeing those come out that just witnessed devastation, it's emotional for them and us as well. And if you feel like you're struggling, one thing that has been added to the Disaster Recovery Center is resources to give you somebody to talk to, an expert in helping you work through that process. And they are there to help you, and it's confidential, and it doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. It's emotional, just like he said with the firefighters. It almost brought tears to my eyes just driving in there. I mean, it just pounds at the heart, and to see the rally and the people's support, it's a touching thing. So that's a service that they will have. Go to the Disaster Recovery Center over off Garden of the Gods. They will make that referral, and it may just be somebody to hand you a Kleenex. That's all it'll take. But they're there for you. So as with each of our press briefings, we will have an opportunity to talk. I see a growing group of citizens that I'm more than willing to spend time with. I'll ask the media to give us a little time and let me hear from them and answer their questions. Other than that, we have Rich Harvey and we have other experts here that are more than happy to talk to you. Thank you, and thanks for the cooperation yesterday. We had a lot fewer people trying to get in. The cooperation is beyond what I could imagine. I'm just so thankful to be a part of this community and have the support I have and the cooperation. So thank you very much.